Hello YouTube, it's me, P-Dog Knight, and today I'm going to do something a little different, and I actually might do this, a little more often, just a little more personal uh, things about myself, and maybe give you some of my background and things like that. But today, as I was on Twitter, there was a hashtag called "Where Were You?" and that is in reference to it being September 11th, 2017, 16 years ago, when the planes crashed into the World Trade Center and to the Pentagon, and then one crashed in Pennsylvania. And so just this is my contribution to that hashtag. My let's see, back in 2001, my wife was managing a medical clinic, and so she went to work before I did. I had a more flexible job. I was in sales. I was a mortgage banker, so I had a little bit more flexibility when I could go in and out. So it was my job to get the kids ready for school, and which they were 4 and 6 at the time. So they went to a little private Montessori school. My daughter started first grade that year, and my son was in preschool still, but whatever, the Montessori school, they kind of push kids along with whatever they do. So I got my kids ready for school, as we normally do, and I went to drop them off. The Montessori school was in a church not too far from where we lived, and then I was heading to work, and I got in the car, and I back then I listened to talk radio. I listened to some various talk radio stations, some conservative. There was one really good liberal one too, and so I kind of switched back and forth between stations. And when I got back in the car, I was listening to the radio, and I kind of heard in the out of I wasn't paying attention too closely, but they started talking about something about a plane flying into the World Trade Center, and I'm like, wait, what did they say? And lo and behold, yeah, that was this, a plane flew into the World Trade Center, and I'm like, God, that's just a really weird accident to happen. I'm thinking they're talking about like a prop, that got off course or something, and as I only worked about 10 minutes away from where my kids went to school, and so I'm like, well, there's a TV at work. There's a couple of them actually in our office, and so I was going to get there and see if what was on the news, because they're talking about this plane, and they're talking about the damage, and then they say it was probably a bigger plane. So I get to work, and we were in a small, this was a small boutique broker, so there was only 9 loan officers and a couple processors, and then we brokered things out. And so there was about 6 or 7 of us there, and we're watching on TV, and we see this. I'm like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm seeing this hole in the building, and then and I can't remember if there was already a plane that hit the Pentagon by then, or they're just reporting a plane hit the Pentagon, and we're watching this live, this big hole in whichever the first tower that got hit. And while we're watching, we see the second plane flying and hit the building, and our whole office just kind of freaked. We're like, no, is that really what we saw? And we were just all stunned, and the newscasters started talking about it, and we just couldn't believe it. And so, as we're standing there in our office, I'm thinking, God, what is going on here? The first plane, we thought, it was an accident, but as soon as we saw that second plane, it clicked in my head, oh my God, this is actually like a terrorist attack or some kind of attack. This is, and still they had no idea where it was coming from. This is before they knew any information, but we're just standing there stunned, watching this happen live on TV. And, and the newscasters are, very solemn trying to explain this, and you could tell they're kind of, they're freaked out, but they're trying to keep it intact. And we're just watching and watching and watching. And then, we got no work done that day. Everyone's there. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, are they going to call me from school? So they didn't have a TV at school. So I don't even know. In fact, I found out later when I went to go pick up my kids that really there was the teachers had heard about it, but hadn't really. The kids didn't know anything about it, but and then we, but we were still watching this on TV, and then the one tower starts to fall, and they've got this long angle shot, and all you're seeing this is the first tower just crumbling down, and we're just all stunned watching it, and then the second tower goes down, and I'm really glad. That was one day that I didn't have any closings or anything, so I didn't have to. I basically was just trying to process some files and make some phone calls that day, but it was really worth it it really wasn't worth it to try to get any work done that day. And as we're watching these news reports, I know that I left early, went and caught my kids, brought them home, didn't really talk to them about it. I asked them if they had heard anything about it, and they really didn't know. And they were 4 and 6. It wasn't something that they were going to understand anyway. But I did, back then you didn't have smartphones. You couldn't just watch it on your phone or see it. That's why I had to run to the office. And my wife had a cell phone. I had a cell phone, but I didn't call her work. And I think she did eventually call me and ask me if I was seeing what was going on. But they were in a clinic. They had to get things done, and they had patients coming in and out. And although she said that even that slowed down to a crawl during that time, because everybody in the country was watching this happen live. And so but it was so surreal, and just seeing those things happen, and it's something you really never forget at all. And so and you know what, like this hashtag, you never want to forget it. You never want to forget it. And it really, the one thing that was the word, I guess. I don't want to. The event was awful, but something that really was special coming out of that event was the way that the country came together for, even if just for a few months. I just remember, I don't remember how many weeks passed that day. But there was a thing where all the members of Congress were standing on the stairs of the Capitol building, and they sang "America the Beautiful," I believe, or no, what was it? "God Bless America," and whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, whatever, whether you believe in God or not, it was a beautiful scene. Watching people come together and watching the people who did the work to try to rescue people, and watching the people who helped with the cleanup, and watching the country come together to try to help the people that were most affected by it. I kind of glad that my kids were too young to understand at that time. Had they been a little older, or had been at a regular school where they may have been talking about it more than the way than they were at our little Montessori school, where they didn't really even hear about it because they didn't have any TVs or anything there. And I feel good that my kids maybe didn't have to deal with it as much as we did. But I know that for my wife and I, it was just a really surreal thing. And but again, the way the country came together in a disaster, I see that same spirit down in Houston. It's right now our country's so divided, and our country is yeah, man, just crazy stuff going on. But when the hurricane happened in the Houston, Louisiana area, you see some of that same strength and unity among those people. Houston's a very democratic town. Texas is a very conservative state. But you know what? All those people are coming together to try to clean up after that terrible event there. And that's what we saw after 9/11. It was great. It was a few months of it, and despite the fact that you had all the Bush haters and all the people, the politicians that just going at each other. But after that event, there was just that short time where you just had to be proud of how our country came together, for even if just for a short time. So that's it. I kind of rambled on a little bit, but that's my where were you story. So thanks for watching. My name is P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.